Anita Adifie. I am the CEO and founder of Advanced and Fulfilled Coaching Company. We're a company dedicated to helping immigrated professionals navigate and advance their careers, establish their identities, and live fulfilled lives in Canada. I came to Canada 9 years ago, and in the course of my journey and my career journey, I have uncovered strategies that I now use to help other professionals advance their careers, navigate the Canadian job market, navigate the Canadian workplace, and just overall navigate the Canadian system. And in one of our last videos, we talked about 5 critical gaps that you need to close. And we did promise that we would come back and take each of those gaps and do a deep dive into them, talking about what they are and how exactly you can close those gaps. And what are the 5 gaps that we talked about? We talked about knowledge gaps, we talked about skills gap, we talked about network gaps, we talked about experience gap, and we talked about confidence gaps. Now, these are 5 critical gaps that you need to close if you are going to advance in your career, immigrated professional or not. Okay, and so today we will start by doing a deep dive into each of those gaps, and we will start by looking at the skill gap. Now, what is skill gap? Before I tell you what skill gap is, I need to let you know that in a job markets of today's world, where skill gaps are actually pretty prevalent. Some companies will talk about reskilling some of their employees, and in some cases people need to upskill and they're not aware of that. So what exactly it does, we're going to look at what exactly it means, and how organizations and individuals can actually work together to close this gap, to close this divide. So let's get into it. Now, what is skill gap? Skill gap really just refers to the disparity, or just basically, on one hand, there is the skills that employers need, and on the other hand, there's the skills that job seekers possess. Everything in between is the gap, right? Or should possess. And everything in between is the gap. So there's a disparity between the skills that employers need and the skills that job seekers possess. So you don't have the kind of skills that employers are looking for. And so basically, the difference between your qualifications and your capabilities as demanded by labor markets, maybe in your field or maybe in the field that you're looking to go into, and as is also offered by the workforce that maybe you're coming from as well. Now, the danger with skill gap is it holds consequences, not just for you as the employee, but also for the organization that you work with or work for. And so when organizations are looking at a good candidate, they're looking for someone who has all of the skill, maybe not all, but pretty much most of the skills that they need for that work. And you want to make sure that your skills are constantly and consistently updated. Why? Because like I mentioned earlier, sometimes some people go through, maybe in your industry, in your field, things can evolve so rapidly and so quickly that people tend to lose relevance of the skills that they hold today. And so you want to do a constant check to make sure that your skill levels are updated. All right. And so we're going to look at, before we talk about how we close this gap exactly, we're going to look at some of the contributing factors to skill gap. The first one being technological advancement. All right, rapid technological advancement and innovation is really outpacing the ability of workers and employees to acquire new skills. And this is leading to a shortage of talent in emerging fields. Again, like I said, this holds consequences for both employers and employees. Now, let me quickly speak to employers. For employers, the truth is that I don't know the last time, really ask yourself as an employer, as a manager, when was the last time you conducted a skills assessment of your employees relative to the future direction of your organization? Skill assessment is something that a lot of employers don't tend to do, but is very necessary. In some instances, employers might find that some of the skills that the employees have might not be relevant to take them to the future. And if they don't know that, if you don't conduct skills assessments with your employees, and then work together with them to reskill or upskill as needed, then it's only a matter of time. Some organizations might see themselves out of markets, not because they don't have innovative ideas, not because the people are not creative, so to speak, but because the people don't have the right skills that are needed to move the organization forward and they were not aware. That's for the employer. Now, for you as an employee, you also hold a responsibility to understand what's going on, how technology is changing, how does the technological changes impact the work that you're doing today. Do you need to acquire new skills? If you're going to go up in the career in corporate ladder, what skills do you need to do that, and how has technology impacted that already? And you're not even there yet, but technology is already impacting it. But do you know that, and do you know to reskill or upskill as needed? Okay, so the second factor that impacts this is the educational system that you find yourself in. Now, this is where, as if you're a new immigrant, or even just as an immigrant overall, I really, really want to hone in on this one a little bit for you. In addition to traditional education models that may not always align with evolving industries and evolving technological advancements, there are countries that some people are coming from that when you add on the quality of education that you have there, it might impact the kinds of skills that you have. I will give this to a lot of immigrants. A lot of immigrants actually have strong soft skills, adaptability, resilience, flexibility, and all of that. But the truth is, in addition to some of the technical skills, practical skills, hands-on skills, they may be lacking. And if you haven't left the country or country of origin to Canada yet, I strongly encourage you do a skills mapping to understand what skill sets you have, what skill sets are prevalent in the industry of choice in Canada, and you're looking at the tools you need to use, the software, the systems they use, and making sure that they are at par with what you or need to get. And if you identify any gap, you want to quickly close that gap. The third thing is demographic shifts. Baby boomers are leaving the workforce, millennials are taking over, and then Gen Zs are already in the workforce, right? There are Gen Zs that are already in the workforce. And because of this changing demographic, how we work is also changing. But the truth is that many people don't realize that because of the difference in how we work, and the skill sets that we have can differ from generation to generation, right? And so because of this demographic changes, there are several changes that comes with it, right? And then finally, globalization. The world is a global village. I can talk on this from sunrise to sunset because I do have a bachelor's in international relations, and it is a topic that is dear to my heart. Anyway, but globalization, the world is becoming a global village now more than ever. And the truth is, because of these, we're seeing intensified competition. And this requires that you as an employee, you have a broad range of skills if you're going to remain competitive in the global market. And here's the thing, especially for those in developed countries, there are not just people who have skills that match. In some cases, honestly, also maybe even outdoes some of the skills that some of us in developed countries have, but they're also cheaper labor. So that's what you're up against. So do your skill sets and make sure that if you identify any skill gap, you close the gap. So how do we close this gap? I will tell you this, that it takes a multifaceted approach to doing that. Okay. Now that we know what the skill gap is and the factors that lead to it, how do we close the gap? Now, the first thing you want to do in closing the gap for yourself is to identify what skills you need within your field or the field you're looking to go into, or within Canada. If you're a new if you're a new professional coming into Canada, you want to identify what skill sets are obtainable or frequently used or applicable within your field and industry. And you want to understand what those skills are. So once you identify the skills, you want to then, number two, assess yourself. Do a self-assessment, right? Reflect, look at a couple of job descriptions within the field that you're going into, or within the job title that you're looking to work in, and identify what skills are they requesting, are they requiring, and then identify which of those skills do you have. And you can also use your current role, your previous roles and responsibilities, and list all the skills that you've used regularly. And then when you look at the job descriptions of jobs that you're potentially going to be applying to, you want to see which of those ones you have. And this brings me to number 2 or 3 now. And this is where you do a skills inventory. Okay, you do a skills inventory. Take stock of the skills that you have. Create a comprehensive list, including all your technical abilities, your technical skills, your soft skills, and specialized knowledges that you've gained over time. And then the next thing you want to do is identify a proficiency level for each of those. Now, you can put into 3 categories: beginner, intermediate, and expert, or practitioner, right? You can put into those 3 buckets and ask yourself, when it comes to the skill level, am I a beginner? Am I intermediate? Or would I consider myself a practitioner, or somebody who is at, almost like an expert level of this? Okay, so you want to do that: beginner, intermediate, advanced, experts, practitioner, whatever you want to call it, right? Identify where you stand in each of those skills, where your level is. And then you want to also make sure that you validate what you think you have, because it's one thing for you to think that you're an expert at something, and it's another thing for others to tell you otherwise. Now, for those of us who have kids, you would understand this, because it's at schools, they do this thing with kids where they tell them to, I don't know about you, but my kids, they sometimes tell them to give themselves a smiley or a frowny face based on how they feel they're doing. It's cute. And sometimes some kids can be really hard on themselves and give themselves a big frowny face. But then the teacher might say, no, that's a big smile because you've done this and you've done that and you've demonstrated these competencies. The same thing. Sometimes some of us can be really hard on ourselves. So you need someone to validate that skill. Maybe a manager, a supervisor, a mentor, or a friend. People who can give you honest feedback, critical, honest feedback. Right? So make sure that you're seeking feedback from peers, managers, mentors to validate your self-assessment. And they can provide insights into things that you may have overlooked, or things that you didn't even think about to look at. Now, when you have done all of that, you've looked at potential jobs that you want to work in, the kinds of skills they're asking for. You've looked at your current and previous job roles and responsibilities, and identified the skills that you've been using and have applied, and you have categorized them into different proficiency levels. When you have done all of that, what you then want to do is compare what you have to what you see in the job descriptions, and that right there is your gap. That right there is your skill gap. And I'll give you a very quick example. So let's say, for instance, you're a policy analyst, and you identify that one of the key skills they keep asking for is the ability to write briefing notes. That's what I can think of on the spot is to write briefing notes, right? And if that's something you've identified, but then briefing notes are things you've never done before, but you're strong in research, you're strong in data analytics, you're strong in writing in general, right? Now, then you know that, okay, my proficiency level for writing is expert level, but when it comes to writing briefing notes, maybe not. Now, the other thing you want to then do is identify the areas where there is skill transference, to say, is there a way to transfer my expert ability to write into this idea of briefing notes? Okay. Or can I merge them? That's something to think about, right? Because you also want to identify some of the transferable skills. Before you say it's a gap, identify. Now, what you then might really need to see is that the gap there is, yes, I know how to write, but there's still a gap in that I've never written briefing notes before. So I haven't tested my competency in that area, right? But I know how to write. So that right there is a gap, and you want to identify that gap. So I know how to write. It's a transferable skill, no doubt, but it's a skill that I haven't really honed in the past of writing briefing notes. Okay. And then you want to put a plan together. put a plan together on how you are going to close that gap. What are the things that you're going to do? Are you going to take trainings? Are you going to take certifications? Are you going to need to do additional education? Are you going to maybe just learn from someone and observe someone? Or is it something that is not so much of a big deal? Maybe, maybe not. But is it something that you can learn by just doing some personal research on your own? Right? And then what you want to do then is to invest in your learning. Okay, invest in your learning. It's great to have your company pay for trainings and development opportunities for you, but you also learn to take interest in your own investment for learning and put in the work where you need to. Okay, and there are platforms where you can also get free trainings and free learnings and professional courses that you can do. Identify opportunities to also take trainings with your industry associations. Sometimes there are opportunities that come from there. There's LinkedIn Learning, there's Coursera, Udemy. They all offer a wealth of resources that cover wide range of topics. Okay, and those are opportunities for you to acquire new skills and knowledge at your own pace. And then finally, embrace a growth mindset. Embrace a growth mindset. What you want to do is, if you have a growth mindset, it's easy to stay committed to your learning and to your growth. Okay, closing the skill gap requires that you have a shift towards a mindset that allows you to engage in continuous improvement, continuous learning, continuous adaptability. Okay, this will open you up to new ideas, new ways of learning, and even when you have setbacks, it doesn't move you as much, right? Because you've taken on that growth mindset, and you know that you can thrive no matter the situation. Okay, and I forgot one piece that I want to mention. Leverage resources and opportunities even within your current role. Okay, you can also develop skills by asking for stretch projects at work. In other words, you see something, typically it's not within your skill set, or it's your current skill sets don't require it, but that's how you learn, right? You learn by doing. Okay, so if there is opportunities for learning opportunities, grab them. All right, if there are opportunities to do cross functional projects, go for them. There are opportunities to take a leadership role, take it. If your supervisor is going out and your organization allows this and you're able to cover for them while they're gone, take those opportunities. Okay, one of the biggest shifts that I experienced in my career here in Canada happened when I was shoulder tapped for a position that was about 2 or 3 steps higher than where I was. Because I had, we'll talk about knowledge gap and how to close that in a moment. But because I had such huge knowledge about a particular topic and had done some specific work around that topic, I was shoulder tapped to come take an opportunity that was about 3 levels higher than where I was at the time. Was I scared? Yuck. Heck yeah. Not yet. Heck yeah, I was scared. I was really scared. I was worried I would screw it up. I was worried I was going to mess it up. But somehow I said yes, and thanks to mentors in my life, right, who really nudged me and pushed me and said, you can do this, we believe in you. And it became part of my learning professional development goals to say, I will take this opportunity and here are the skill sets that I'm going to learn out of them. All right. And I was able to identify specific skill sets that allowed me to grow. And those were skill sets that when I had done my own skill mapping for myself, with where I wanted to go with my career, there were skill sets that I had identified I would need at some point. And here was an opportunity presenting itself literally on a platter of gold. Well, not literally, on a platter of gold, right? And it was presenting itself. And it made no sense to just turn away from that, turn my back to that. So I took the opportunity. And I'm so glad that I did, right? Because it really pushed the boundaries for me, But at the end of the day, I came out on the other side refined. Okay, so please, if you see opportunities like that, don't be scared to take stretch. As a matter of fact, seek out stretch opportunities because it just might be what you need. And finally, engaging with your professional associations, industry groups, online communities, all of these can provide access and opportunities for you to engage in ways that allow you to close your skill gap. Okay. And that is it. Yes, that definitely is it. So overall, I know that skill gap can present challenges and challenges for you, but do not fret. Okay, do not fret. Okay, you can identify what the skills in demand are. And when you identify what those skills in demand are, identify the skills that you currently have so that you know what you don't have from what is needed. And once you identify what that is, make sure you validate what you think you have by peers, mentors, whoever would be a good person to talk to about validating that. And once it's validated, invest in yourself, embrace a growth mindset, and leverage opportunities as they come. Okay, it is better to be prepared, and when the opportunities come, it's better to prepare ahead before the opportunities come than for the opportunities to come and then you're not ready. Okay, you can never outskill. You can never outskill you can never outskill any industry, quite frankly. Okay, so please engage in your own development, and that way you're never taken by surprise. Okay, you will never be taken by surprise. All right, so what strategies have you applied? What strategies have you found most effective in closing skill gaps? Is there anything else you would like to add? If you want to add some thoughts or your experiences, we welcome your comments. There are others who are going to benefit from it. So let's continue the conversation in the comments. Let's empower one another. Do not forget to share this video with someone who might need it. And if you're new here, you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Turn on the notification button so that you know every time that we drop a new video. On this channel, we provide resources to help you grow in your personal and professional life, but we also provide information to help immigrated professionals navigate the Canadian landscape when it comes to job market, navigating job search, navigating Canadian workplaces, but even just overall anything that contributes to help your life in Canada easier is what we provide resources for. Feel free to check out our website. We offer different services: resume writing, interview coaching, career counseling, career coaching, and we have trainings, and we also have courses that you can take on your own skills. We also have courses that you can take to help close any gaps that you identify for yourself. So feel free to check us out on advancedandfulfilled.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can reach out to us through any of our social media handles, and we'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. Until next time, take care and bye.